Órale. Tenemos a none other que Pantera here with us. How you doing, Omar? ¿Cómo has estado?
I'm doing great.
¿Es todo, Pantera?
Yes, sir.
La vida del boxeo. La profesión del boxeo. Bienvenido al programa, Dad. Thank you for coming by, man. I appreciate you.
Gracias por invitarme. Es un placer estar aquí. Platicarles un poquito.
Es todo.
De lo que hemos pasado, lo que hemos hecho.
No, sí. Te quería preguntar, who do you think is the greatest boxer of all time, bro?
Oh, definitely. For me, Salvador Sánchez.
Salvador Sánchez. Pero él no alcanzó a hacer lo que podría hacer, ¿verdad?
Al corto tiempo que boxeó, creo que hizo grandes cosas, noqueando a 3 salones de la fama.
Uh-huh.
Suma Nelson, Wilfredo, Coloradito López.
Yeah, Little Red López.
Oh, my God. 15 rounds.
Uh-huh.
Y si ves, este chavo Salvador no abría la boca. Todo el tiempo su boca cerrada, respirando por las narices. 15 rounds. Su ritmo de pelea era súper.
Uh-huh.
Soy un admirador, súper admirador de él.
Yeah.
Para mí es el número 1
Sí.
en todo el boxeo. Muchos campeones americanos, Roy Jones, Mike Tyson, todos admiran la calidad de boxeador que era.
When you're boxing, if you see the boxer, your opponent with his mouth open, that means he's tired, ¿verdad? Or he's having trouble breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember they would say, si está respirando por la boca, con la boca abierta, es que ya se está cansando, ¿verdad?
O sí, o los golpes que le están dando al cuerpo también.
Yeah.
You know, it's to me, I think body punching is the best, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I taught to my boys, you know.
And the body punching, it makes the boxer bring his guard down so it opens up his face, you know what I mean? Because ya cuando le estás pegando el hígado un poco de tiempo, comienza a poner el elbow ahí, baja las manos y ahí es donde lo tronas.
Aparte, ya no se te mueven tanto. They're right in front of you.
Sí.
They slow down and they're just right there in front of you.
Yeah. Oye, esta weekend que pasó, there was a fight, se llamaba Logan Paul, no Logan Paul, el hermano de él, Jake Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Le peleó a Mike Perry. Did you get to see that fight?
I didn't see it.
Mike Perry es un MMA guy and he's into bare knuckle boxing. Ahora tienen bare knuckle fighting.
Yeah,
Have you seen that?
I've seen it, but I'm into boxing.
Así empezó el boxing
Sí.
in the very beginning, ¿verdad? With Gentleman Jim and all those guys,
I
70
imagine.
rounds and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
the boxing on this side, and they would do bare knuckle, and they would fight until somebody gave up, and then of course in the 60s and 70s they got into 15 rounds and all that.
Yeah.
But Jake Paul is one of those guys. The only thing I didn't like about the fight is that Jake Paul was way bigger than this other guy, and this other guy, it seems like Jake Paul was over 200 pounds, and this guy was about 200. So, pero. It just goes to show that no matter what other discipline you're in fighting, boxing's otro pedo, bro.
Boxing is the real thing.
You know, the MMA guys, they try to come in and box and they fail because it's like you said, Salvador Sánchez, he needed to create a rhythm, you know, and a breathing rhythm.
Yeah.
And in MMA, it's a lot different than boxing when you got 12 rounds, right?
I watch MMA, but to me, boxing is just the sport for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because the discipline it takes, it's a beautiful sport. It's a very dangerous sport. You cannot play boxing like they say. You can play basketball, they score baskets. Football, they score touchdowns. But boxing, you get hit to the head and, you know, body and head. So it makes you think when you're up there and realize what you did wrong in the training camp.
Yeah.
So you're going to pay for it in the ring.
Oye, Dad, y en boxing, el primer vato que mete el chingazo más fuerte es el que corre el show. I mean, I've noticed that when there's 2 boxers fighting, and then one of them gets clocked good, and then he starts like, okay, this guy can hit hard. It always depends who hits the hardest, right?
Okay. In a way, yes, but it also depends who has the biggest balls, who can take the punch better,
Okay.
who can assimilate the punch, and who can come back and throw combination and start wearing the other guy down. Maybe that guy has gas for 1 round, and he's going to throw you with everything in that first round. But if his opponent can take that punch and move around and then he comes back with his.
The second round's going to be tough for that guy that threw it all out.
Yeah.
You got to find pace, and you have to be smart.
That's why it's such a beautiful sport, because it takes everything. I mean, when you get to the big leagues, of course, the 4-rounders, it takes, different kind of training. Or when you get ready for a 10-rounder or a 12-rounder, the eating, the sleeping correctly, doing things right, not going out, not drinking, not partying. So then you're getting ready for a world title fight. That's why they pay what they pay.
Sí.
Because it takes a lot.
Oye, y tu chavalo Brandon Heartbreaker Figueroa, la última pelea, la estaba viendo yo en el televisión y todos estaban diciendo que iba perdiendo. Y yo estaba pensando, anda buscando el momento donde lo puede tumbar. And then that liver shot came in at the bell, at the end of what round was it? The 5th round, something like that. And se dobló el vato y no se pudo levantar.
I think it was the 9th round.
9th round?
Yeah, but no one knows that Brandon, we had made training camp twice last year. And Brandon was already almost on weight, and then Ray Vargas doesn't want to fight him. So we got canceled, and then we go back to training camp again. Mm-hmm. Brandon is cutting weight, doing everything right. He was looking excellent. And then again, no fight.
Yeah.
So that really messed us up in the training. We come back home, and then we get this fight, and then I think it was 2 weeks before the fight, they tell us the guy is overweight and he probably not going to make weight. So Brandon's thinking, okay, another training camp, probably not going to fight again. So ya andaba un poco desanimado. Mm-hmm. And it's no excuse, yeah. But as a fighter, you're mentally, because it takes a toll on you. I mean, all that work, the hard work. And
it sure does mentally.
Yeah. So we were thinking that he wasn't going to fight again. So he kind of slowed down and said, no, I told him, no, mijo, keep on going. I mean, we're going to fight. And I was it was 50-50 already. So, and there's an interview when they interview Brandon that he didn't show up. And the girl that's interviewing Brandon says she kind of mentioned that the fight that he wasn't going to make it. And Brandon goes again? No, he wasn't going to make it to the press conference or something like that. Mm-hmm. So he was heavy, and he still came 2.5 pounds over. At that weight, believe me, Rock, it's a lot of weight. It's a lot of advantage for your opponent.
It is, man. Every little ounce counts.
Because the last 3-4 pounds to drop, it's the hardest. You're shaking, your body can take it no more, and you can't eat. They'll wet your lips with a little cloth or something.
Yeah.
And I've been there so many times.
Me recuerdo cuando estábamos en la amateur boxing, metían a los chavalos a un troque para que sudaran.
También.
Para que sudaran todo lo que pudiera to make weight. And it was on weight day, trying to make weight. But I think that's one of the toughest aspects of the business and of the sport is making weight, man, right?
Como dicen, la primera batalla, ganarle la báscula.
Ajá.
Y por eso la disciplina que viene atrás de todo el entrenamiento es súper importante para los que en verdad quieren ser campeones del mundo.
Sí.
Si quieres llegar a ser state champion, okay, train at this level and you're going to be there. But to me, I want to make world champions. Mm-hmm. And they criticized my training. They criticized because I wasn't a professional fighter. But I guess when the guy upstairs gives you some talent or something, I don't know.
El don.
Mm-hmm. And I proved a lot of people wrong.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Not only once, but twice.
How old are you, man?
Oh, I used to deliver mail on horseback, bro. The postman, remember them?
¿Qué tantos años tienes?
Ya estoy rucón.
60? 55?
I'm 60.
60? Pues ahí estoy atrásito de ti.
Ahí vas, pisándome los talones.
Entonces, ¿eres el del 64 o qué?
No, 1963.
1963?
Yeah.
Órale. Wow, man. ¿Y ahí naciste en Hueslaco?
No, en Río Bravo.
¿En Río Bravo?
Yo soy tamaulipeco, puro Río Bravo.
Órale.
Puro Colonia Morelos, donde no entraba la policía porque los agarrábamos a pedradas.
Órale. Yeah. ¿Y qué tanto tiempo estuviste ahí en Río Bravo?
Ahí, como a los 11 años nos vinimos para este lado. Mi papá era welder. Deep sea welding hacía. So,
that's good money, no? I mean, back then.
So nos arregló a todo el montón. Éramos como 8, 9.
Sí.
My youngest brother was born here. Ya es el más prieto, el güey.
Una familia grande.
Familia grande.
Y ahí cuando vivían tú tenías 11, 12 años antes de que se vinieran. ¿Tú eres el mayor de toda la familia?
No, estoy como en halfway, a la mitad. Sí, tengo 3 menores que yo y 5 mayores que yo.
¿Y todos tus hermanos viven y todo?
Todos están vivos. Todos.
¿Y viven aquí en el Valle del Río Grande?
Ya todos están aquí viviendo.
Sí.
All my brothers and sisters are out here.
So ya cuando estabas tú allá, ya estaba toda la familia de 9 en Río Bravo, estaban viviendo ahí, tú y tu mamá y tu papá, ¿verdad?
Sí, ahí fue
¿Cómo la hacían?
la escuela.
¿Cómo la hacían ahí en Río Bravo sin...
Estaba difícil.
¿Qué hacía? ¿Tu papá trabajaba ahí?
Mi papá primero trabajaba en la Celanese.
¿Qué es eso?
Es una como de electricidad.
Okay.
Era una bodega grande.
¿A power plant or something
like that?
Okay.
Él trabajaba ahí y después se vino, arregló, sacó un permiso, se vino para este lado a trabajar y pues él sabía weldear, se enseñó y ya de ahí se vino para acá a trabajar. Y
gracias a Dios que tenía el talento ese, ¿verdad?
Fíjate que sí, porque para arreglarle a 9 hijos tenía que en verdad ganar bien.
Sí.
Y pues como quiera, él siempre estaba afuera. Nosotros nos criamos con mi mamá, pero nunca tuve el apoyo. Yo hubiera querido ser boxeador.
Sí.
Pero pues nunca tuve el apoyo de nadie. Pero pues siempre me cuidé, siempre me gustaba hacer ejercicio, correr. Y I was a street fighter. Me peleaba. Cada fin de semana eran 2 o 3 veces que me peleaba.
Sí.
En la escuela, cuando vienes de México.
¿Y por qué tanto coraje? Did you have anger or something like that?
No
me dejaba. You just like to fight?
No me dejaba de nadie. No.
They were bullying you?
They were picking me, yeah.
Because you're not a big, tall guy.
No, estaba chiquito pero picoso.
Y no
estaba ya.
No, yo conocí a chavalos en la escuela chiquitos que estaban pesados. Estaban buenos para los chingazos.
No, I was weighing like 130 y I'm 5'6".
Te tenías que defender.
Me tenía que defender y con lo que encontraba tenía que defenderme porque pues yo solo, my older brothers ya no fueron a la escuela. Mis hermanas tampoco ya no quisieron ir porque también las hacían bully a mis hermanas. Pero a mí me gustaba la escuela.
Sí.
So fui a Raymondville.
So cuando tu papá compuso los papeles y todo eso, se trajo toda la familia de Río Bravo. ¿Dónde radicaban? ¿Aquí se fueron derecho a Westlack o a
Raymondville?
Raymondville.
Yeah, era Bearcat.
Órale. So ahí tuviste your high school years were Raymondville Bearcat?
Yeah, I tried playing football.
I never knew that, bro. I thought you've always been from Westlack, bro.
No, vengo de Raymondville. Ahí fui hasta 9. I was good in school, but I had to go work. My parents didn't want me to go to school. So nos íbamos para Michigan, Indiana. Ya lo último nos íbamos para California.
Y estamos hablando de los 76, 77.
80, sí.
1980.
Early 80s.
You were a teenager. You were about 15, 16, 17 years old.
Sí, siempre fui bien peleonero, bien corajudo.
Sí.
Y, pero ya lo traes, eso ya lo.
Sí.
Salimos a parte de mi mamá sí es.
So ahí en la escuela de Raymondville, ¿no trataste de jugar fútbol y todo no te gustó, güey?
I don't know if you remember that guy, Major Free.
No.
I think he moved to Westlaco and his kids were pretty good over here. Y le decían, ¿cómo te llamas en español? Mayor. He was weighing like 200 pounds. Y me dijeron, tackle the guy. Y que me le voy. El hombre me dejó sembrado ahí. Me sacó el aire. He ran over me. Honestly, he ran over me. Me quedé tirado y me querían levantar. Y dije, ahorita me levanto. Me levanté y me quité los shoulder pads y dije, this is not for me.
¿Y no le entraste al béisbol o nada de eso? Or?
No, pues ¿quién me llevaba? No tenía apoyo. My mom didn't know how to drive, so I was always in the street.
Y ahí todo cuesta feria también. Ahora si estás en Little League, béisbol, algo chinga, y se meten a los All-Stars, te sale la de feria, chinga.
Porque te voy a decir que Omar, and I can take that credit because
Omar Jr.
He was the best baseball player in the Valley. He almost got picked up by the scouts from the New York Mets.
Sí.
We had this cubano, Alejandro. Se me enojó porque me dice, pero hermano, ahora molió en Cuba tu hijo. Béisbol y boxeo. Cuando firmó con Oscar, me dice, pero no, para mí es mejor pelotero. Y cuando se hizo campeón, me dice, A mí no me convence. Para mí, pelote y hasta la fecha.
Yeah.
But Omar was something else.
Yeah, he's got a lot of talent. He was
Too
here on the
much.
show, and he's got a lot of talent, and so does Brandon.
And
it's interesting.
Omar didn't even try hard. Brandon had to work for it.
See.
Omar was natural.
And there's kids that are just like that. I mean, there's kids that are just born like that, and it's incredible, and they can do something with it.
I remember I would go watch some boxing. Omar was like 7 or 8, 9, 10. And I would tell my friends they remember because I tell them, just watch my son. They would I would see Hooters, La Amenaza, and the other guys that would fight. And I would tell everybody, just wait. And but
and you would tell me too. And I was the ring announcer. And
yes, sir.
You just mentioned that I was there at one of his first fights in ring announcing in Harlingen at Casa de Amistad. And they had put him up against Omar. Was there? It's like one of his first pro fights, and he fought this guy that was like built better. I mean, automatically everybody thinks that guy's gonna win.
Yeah,
because your son wasn't like a very intimidating figure, And then after the fight, your son kicks his ass. And what did I tell you? Right? You mentioned that earlier. That I went up to you and I told you what?
There's something special there.
And there was, man. I mean, it was interesting. And I had told you because I was doing the Miller Lite Texas title fights for like 5 years. I was seeing like 25 fights a year. And I saw all kinds of boxers. And when I saw Omar, I was like, okay, this is something different.
There's this other one. I used to work for Orkin Pest Control.
Mm-hmm.
Omar was like 5 years old. We had a family party at the Harlingen Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I always would take my gloves and my mitts, and I would give Omar mitts in front of everybody. And I told him he's going to be signed with Golden Boy, and he's going to be a world champion. Pues se dio el tiempo que peleó con Arakawa in San Antonio for the world title. So after the fight, I get a call, and they tell me, you motherfucker, you told me this 20 years ago. I cannot fucking believe it. You told me this, and I saw it last night. You told me that your son was going to be a world champion and sign with Oscar. And last night, I saw Oscar there, and I saw your son become a world champion, and you told me this 20 years ago at the park.
Que loco, no? But it's that you have the power of positivity and claiming it.
The work behind it, James. The work behind it, bro. Day in, day out. It was like, Omar would tell me, you take me to that gym, Mexico, Vegas, California, New York. You put me in with the best or don't take me at all. That's what he would tell me.
You have to have that attitude. You want to be with the best. Because I've seen a lot of boxers go up in the ranks y les ponen puros pollitos, carnal. Y para cuando llegan allá, están 20-0 y no le pelearon a nadie en los 20 peleas, nomás a puros pollitos. La primera pelea que tienen con un chavo que le ponieron buenos peleadores.
O del nivel de él.
Al nivel de él, sí, ándale. Even Steven, 2-0, 2-0. You know what I mean? Not, 0-14 against 1-0, or 2-0. You're going to fight somebody that's going to give you a challenge. And then they get to that point where they fight a big guy and they get their ass kicked right away because they didn't have. It's just important as sparring, having sparring partners, that with quality. So you were living in Raymondville till what age were you there?
I was there till about 20 years old, I think, and then.
And so does your family? They still reside in Raymondville?
No, we all moved over here.
Including your dad and your mom?
Yeah, everybody.
O sea, para Hueslaco.
Para Hueslaco.
Órale.
En la colonia Cuellar, ahí
y
nos quedamos.
Yo pensaba que tú eras siempre de Hueslaco porque pues el sobrenombre que te dieron Pantera, bro. I told my wife, you know what, I'm going to ask him, how did he get the name Pantera? And my wife says, well, he's from Hueslaco. I was like, oh yeah, pues las Panteras de Hueslaco, bro. But you're from Raymondville. Debes de ser el Bearcat, no?
Lo que pasa cuando íbamos al Boys Club, Omar, my son Omar was small, and we would miss the training on Fridays. And then Monday we would go back to train. And estaban el viernes, nos decía el coach, le dije, fuimos a ver las Panteras. Because my nephews estaban chiquitos, but they were damn good in football and track and everything, especially football. I have a couple of nephews that were damn great in football. He's on 5'3", 5'4", but man, he was good. Y el viernes no íbamos y ¿dónde estaban? Fuimos, se le quedó Panterita y Pantera. So ya ahí se nos quedó el Pantera y el Panterita.
Órale.
So that's why.
So then you got that name later on, and I always thought that was your name because you were boxing también. Because so you didn't box at all. Did you ever box? Or it was always just training?
It was just street fighting for myself.
Yeah.
En Río Bravo, acá en la escuela, casi todos los días me peleaba.
A lot of boxers start like that, right? I mean, they're out fighting in the street, and then they put them in the gym. Hey, take your aggression out on this, and then see if you can get something with it. Right?
Nowadays, it's because kids are doing bad things, and they put them into a sport. And I talk to them, and they're young kids that are already, doing things they're not supposed to do. So the parents, they put them in a sport, and they get their anger out on the bag, or and then they like it, and they make friends.
And they learn discipline.
And then they learn how to listen, and then they look at you, and sometimes you say, no, ¿sabes qué? Yeah, I'm tired. I don't want to train. Yeah, I just want to train myself. And then they come up to you, coach, can you help me? And te miran a los ojos y come on, coach. Y pues you're doing something good. I mean, I can talk to them and give them advice because I'm not the perfect trainer or father or whatever, but I can give them good advice to stay on the right track. And even though they don't fight, but at least get them out of smoking or drinking or doing other things.
Yeah.
And they go to the gym and they like it. They enjoy it.
Yeah, it's challenging. It's challenging to them, and just the whole atmosphere and everybody competing and the competitiveness of it and all that. It is a different. It's actually saved a lot of kids from the street.
That's a point right now. That's a very important point right now. The way things are right now, about the kids doing things they're not supposed to. I think every parent, they got to keep them busy. It doesn't have to be boxing. Put them in a sport or something. Let their mind, do
even
something.
If it's academics, even if it's like writing and reading or something, but just to keep their mind and their energy focused on something positive, instead of something negative.
Yeah, I have a lot of parents that take their kids to my gym because they want them to get away from things they do, and they start liking boxing, and then I try to see if they can spar and then train, and then you can.
And then they go to school and they attract other kids into getting into, because they like kids.
They start getting ripped or cut, and they like it. They like it.
Yeah, and they influence other kids to get into them.
Yeah.
So you moved to Weslaco. You were in your 20s. Were you married already when you moved to Weslaco?
No, I was single.
You were single, and then you got married at what age? Around
like
20?
at 25.
And Omar's your oldest?
Omar's my oldest son.
Yeah. And so how old were you when Omar was born?
I was 26.
26?
Around 26, going on 27.
And what were you doing? You were working?
I was selling stereos. I was selling tires.
Whatever to make ends meet.
I used to go to the refineries también. Pero I would miss, training with my son, and the coaches would call me, hey, your son didn't show up to practice. He didn't come to boxing. And so I left a great paying job to come and make $100 a week, but to be with
your son,
my family. Yeah.
What did you think or feel when Omar was born, man?
I remember this because he was born at the Holy Family Services, and my mom was there, and I would cut the yard. My ex-wife would clean the windows because I didn't have any money.
Omar's mom.
Yeah. So when Omar was born, my mom was there, and she goes, es puro hombre. He had some big balls. Y los ojotes, y nació gritando. Like, wow, yo nunca había visto, because that was my first. And his eyes like real big and big old balls and crying, el pulmón que tenía. And I said, okay. And I thought about having a boy because I wanted to be a fighter, and I didn't have the opportunity to, have someone to take me to boxing gyms or something, or play baseball. Yo era like, Y a mí no me gustaba perder ni a las canicas. Si perdía, arrebataba y corría.
Yeah.
So I had that, what do you call that? I had the tiger, like, no me dejo de nadie. And that's why when I started training Omar, Omar was like 1 year old. And I bought him some gloves that would hit something and they would squeak. Y ahí estaba todo el día. Pa, 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 pa.
Wow.
And then I bought him a little clown that had weights on the bottom and he would hit it, come back up. And that's how we started.
Yeah.
That was the beginning.
Yeah. And how old was Omar before you had your next kid, your next child?
Omar was like 2.5 years.
2.5 years. And your second child was your daughter, or
My daughter, Omaira.
okay? And then Brandon was born after that, right?
Brandon, yes.
How many years was that after Omar? They're like 5 or 6 years apart, right, or
like,
something?
Kind of like close to 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, close to 7 years. And but Brandon estaba bien wimpy. He was real skinnier than me.
See?
When I was, and he was like, no, hombre, Brandon, no. Yo le decía, no, mijo, tú no. Sí, papi, yo quiero chingazos. And look at this kid, man.
I know.
It's like, I don't know. I mean, Brandon had like more anger, and he would get beat up in the ring. And I tell him, bájate del ring ya. No, quiero más chingazos, Brandon. Ya te chingotearon, bájate. No se bajaba.
Yeah.
Quería más chingazos del coraje que traía. Y, no, hombre, Brandon was something else, man.
You were, so you had Omar in the gym at a very young age. And then you got him into amateurs and stuff like that? Was he part of the amateur Golden Gloves and all that?
Omar was a real good amateur. And the year he won state, guess who he beat in the final?
Who?
Errol Spence.
Oh, see?
He beat Errol Spence.
Wow.
And Omar was out from boxing because I think he was 11. He was playing football, and they broke his elbow. So he was out for about 2.5 years, or 3 probably. So no one in Texas heard about Omar. But since I worked Saturdays for the Postal Service, I was a part-time. I could not take him to a lot of tournaments, so I would take him to Mexico.
Sí.
Reynosa, Rio Bravo. Omar was super famous in Reynosa.
I remember you told me a story of being in Rio Bravo, and I spoke with Omar about this. I reminded him, and he was like, there was a shootout in the boxing arena or wherever they were doing it, and I remember you telling me that you all were stashed out behind a hill for a while, scared shitless, from all the guns slinging and all that stuff that was going on in Rio Bravo. Was crazy.
Yeah, one of the guys, the fighter he was going for, and I know him, he was getting beat up. He should have been winning, but he didn't train properly. He was fighting a guy from Monterrey, and this guy threw a bottle and hit the ref on the leg, and it broke, and he went and hit a kid, cut the kid that was in the crowd, and he belonged to family of his, the guy who threw the bottle. And I took a friend from Westlaco to go see Omar fight, and this guy didn't know what the hell was going on, and he was a badass. He went and got the guy. He wanted to beat him up. Le dieron un cachazo, and they threw him under they were going to kill him, but he went under it, and then all the people got up, and my ex ran out, everybody ran out, and I was there like trying to look for him, and me estaban gritando, vente, vente. They didn't go through my mind, but he went under the tables, and they didn't get him.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
We came over here, and I went looking for him, and he got to his house the next day, and andaba todo pedo.
In Mexico, you can turn pro at a younger age than in the United States of America,
Mexico,
right?
Yeah, at 15.
Yeah, and over here it's what, 18, 19 or something?
It's 17 with a parent signature.
Órale.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was Omar fighting at a pro level over there at that time, or was it just amateur?
Amateur, but they would do like 3 minutes since they were kids. So Omar was already on a pro status,
Pro level.
Fighting 3 minutes, 1 minute rest, and sometimes he would even fight 4 or 5 rounds. I mean,
Y estaba chavalo, no se le acababa la energía, bro.
He was like 13, 14, and he was dropping guys to the body at that age. So I knew I had something. Honestly, I knew I had something, when I saw Omar dropping guys. And
would he listen to everything you'd give him all the information in the corner, and would he kind of like go with it, or would he do his own thing, or Or a little of both?
A little of both, but he knew what to do. I mean, you can tell him something, but if the other guy does something inside the ring that where you can hit him with a combination or just hurt him, Omar knew what to do.
Yeah. Órale.
El Brandon ese sí, le digo, tírame el jab and go for it. He wants to go inside and rip the body.
Yeah. No, bien cabezudo el Brandon, chinga.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you had Omar doing the Mexico and locally you had him doing amateurs también. And then when at 17 you said you're going pro or what?
No. He beat Errol Spence and we went to nationals, but he didn't want to go. He missed the plane in Harlingen, so we drove. I had a Accord wagon standard that I bought in. I used to sell cars también.
Uh-huh.
And en esa nos fuimos para Tennessee.
Órale.
Todos cateados, pero nos vamos para allá, and he lost the first one. He didn't want to compete. He wanted baseball. So we come back, and he fought a couple of more fights, but he got robbed in one fight bad, and he didn't like it. He said, I ain't fighting no more amateur. I want to go pro. So that's when we went pro.
And so what was the deal? How did you all do it to go pro? Did you contact, what do you have to do to go pro?
No, he fought in Cavazos. I remember he knocked out the guy in the first round, que lo dejó.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah. All your kids would knock people out in the first round around here, bro. I mean, even Brandon.
He was at the Harley Davidson, remember?
Yeah.
He was from the other kid. He never fought again.
The pobre chavalo era de Brownsville con curly hair, bro. Y nomás cayó como un árbol. Timber. Yeah. I mean, it was a hard punch, bro. Yeah. So that was basically one of his first pro fights?
That was his pro debut.
Yeah. 1-0.
1-0.
Knockout in the first round.
And then, de ahí nos agarramos.
But he knew that kid was going to be like un pollito, right? I mean, and that's when he started telling you, I want better fighters,
Oh, yeah, definitely. And he got some good fighters, but then he got some fighters that weren't so good because they would cancel.
Mm-hmm.
Ya faltando una semana, they would cancel. So Marines or Cavazos would have to get just any other opponent just to fight,
Yeah.
And I didn't like that because, once your fighter starts knocking out guys and he's in his mind, he's going to think, I don't have to train hard. I don't have to listen to my dad. I'm knocking out guys. See? That's one thing that you need to put guys that are going to be competitive and they're going to make them work.
That want to hurt them.
They're going to give them a challenge.
Yeah.
So.
And so he went into professional boxing, man, at the age of 17, 18. And then he started his career. And he had some pretty amazing fights on the way up. You would train him down here, but a lot of times, a lot of boxers go to like training camps in other parts of the country. Did he ever do that? Like, did he go to like Big Bear? I think there's one Big Bear camp, or there's other places. They go to like higher altitudes. También se van para otras áreas porque aquí no tienen suficiente sparring, quality sparring partners here.
Or friends, going out with friends and all that. So,
yeah, they distract you.
Exactly. No, Omar went with Joel Diaz.
Okay.
I remember this. Joel Diaz told...
and where was this at?
Indio, California. We used to go work over there.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of knew más o menos la área. So Robert Diaz contacted Joel. And Joel is one of those trainers that habla golpeado. And he gives it to you straight. And he told Robert that he had 3... Dijo, aquí nomás tengo 3 chavalos que le dan una chinga al Panterita. Porque he didn't like Omar's style. He has a weird style. Ese pinche estilo aquí no jala. Okay. So así estuvo bien. So va Omar para allá. Se chingoteó a los 3. And Joel Diaz comes to me, and I'll never forget it. He comes to me. Pinche estilo que le enseñaste, pero pinche estilo efectivo. Me chingoteó que ellos. Digo, no es igual mirar al toro de las gradas que agarrar al toro de los cuernos. Man. So we earn a respect with Joel Diaz. And then Brandon gets there. Otro cabrón igual. Digo, otro. Y luego con ojos de... No.
Sí.
No, he has a lot of respect.
And what is that style that he's talking about? I mean...
they switch left and right and they're on top of you. Pa, pa, pa. They don't let you think. They overwhelm you. They go to the body and then you hit them and they just smile at you and they're still there in front of you. So...
mental.
Mentally, what do I do? And then body, head, left, right, and ahí están.
Yeah.
No te los quitas.
Yeah.
And
That's interesting.
Their conditioning is great. I mean,
what was the cost to send them to like those type of camps? I mean, there's got to be some sort of fee, right? I mean, for you guys to pay.
Yeah. Well, Joel as a trainer, he was getting a percentage when Omar would fight.
A percentage of whatever the purse was when they fought.
Yeah, so that's why he would take him in, and then plus Omar was going to help him with all the rest of the guys for sparring.
So there was a benefit there, and there was
a benefit,
and there was something at the end of the road as well.
Exactly. So you have those for the other guys that he's going to make them better. You have sparring for them. You don't have to pay for sparring. You have the in-house sparring. So it works both ways.
As far as contracts are concerned, like the contract, did you and your son have to get a contract with each other, or was it all just verbal? And I mean,
we should have done a contract.
Sí.
It would have been better.
Yeah,
honestly, yes.
Yeah, porque pues nomás estaban de acuerdo nomás.
Sí, and there should have been a contract. It would have been a lot better, but we went like that, and we got signed. Omar got signed by BBC, by Al Heyman. And there's one fight where Golden Boy wanted to throw out Omar because Omar had no discipline. Sometimes he missed weight. But
I remember that time.
So they matched him up with Michael Angelo Perez, 16-0, almost same age. Omar, 14-0. Perez was national champion twice, fighter of the year on Telefutura, blah, blah, blah. He was supposed to beat Omar like favorite like 5-1. So even the commentators were saying, why is Golden Boy putting two prospects at a young age? I mean, it's good. It's going to be a good fight, but Omar missed weight the first time. He had the second time. He made weight on the third one. Omar was like done. And Michael made weight, and he was flexing and eating, and we had to wait till Omar made weight, until finally he made weight. So the commentators were talking that he wasn't going to make it. There's part 1 and part 2 of that fight, and Omar doesn't beat him decisively, doesn't knock him out. He makes him quit.
Yeah.
And then Omar gets the mic and goes, I guess Golden Boy can believe in me now. I beat his number 1 fighter.
Yeah.
So from there on, they didn't want it Omar. No, Golden Boy didn't want it Omar.
No. Because he's tight. Les aventó algo.
Porque le aventó eso. And you know who was there? Robert Garcia, the Oxnard.
Órale.
And he said, wow. He made him quit. He was talking to him, man, to make him quit.
I remember that fight. It was an older man. It was like an older looking man. He said, I'm not going to go back out. That's it.
Yeah. He quit on his stool. And so like in 3 days after that, I get a call from El Mero Mero, the godfather of boxing, Al Heyman.
Órale.
And I didn't know who it was. And he offered me something for Omar. And I said, no, I'm okay. And this guy is like, everybody wants to go with him. I didn't know who it was.
Sí.
So I tell Robert Diaz, hey, this guy's calling me. Robert Diaz didn't tell me nothing. So in 3 days, he calls me again. Okay, I'm going to give you a better deal. And I said, no. Hey, este vato es de esos que...
Persistent y tiene feria.
He's a multimillionaire. He's the CEO, owner of Premier Boxing, Al Heyman.
Yeah.
And I turned him down again, and then I asked Robert, who's this? And this guy's the
mero chingón.
Mero chingón de todos. Sure enough, then he calls me again. He gives me a better deal. So I said, yes.
Así tienes que serle, carnal.
But I didn't even know. Pero funcionó así.
Sí.
So Omar got paid like super, super good on his next fights.
And what fight was that? Was a fight after, because Omar says that fight that you just mentioned where the guy quit, that was like one of his favorite fights. I think his favorite.
Yeah,
fight
because Omar, the other guy was a favorite, and he was undefeated, and he was Golden Boy's favorite fighter from Puerto Rico. He was Puerto Rican, and Omar just destroyed him.
Yeah, so. How many fights was he in when he finally signed with that big money deal? Was like
I think after that one we made probably 1 or 2, and then we signed with se acabó el contract con Golden Boy, and we went with Al Heyman.
Yeah.
And
so Golden Boy, how long had you been with Golden Boy before you went with Heyman?
I think it was like 3 years.
So
Yeah.
when you signed with Golden Boy, was it as lucrative as the one with Heyman? Obviously not, right? I mean,
No.
yeah. But there was still a lot of money involved when Golden Boy got you guys in.
It was a little, not so much. I mean, the money guy was Al Heyman.
A lot of people don't understand the expenses of having a fight, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you got to pay the trainers. Everybody gets a percentage, and then you got to pay the commission as well.
Yeah. So Omar got picked up by Al Heyman, and then I had Brandon, and I mentioned it to Heyman, and he would sponsor us. Since Brandon was an amateur, he would pay for our flights to take him to tournaments. Not a lot of them because I couldn't go because of my work.
Mm-hmm.
Pero sí, Al Heyman saw Brandon and said, can he fight? Because he saw, man, he's... So he flew us from McAllen to Cleveland on a private jet to get Omar his fight here in Pain Arena on Ricky Burns.
Mm-hmm.
And I took Brandon, and he met Brandon. He said, man, are you sure he can fight? Yes, he can fight. He said, man, he looks too skinny, and he's a good-looking kid. And then he said, okay, ya cuando lo miró, dijo, okay, this guy can fight.
And that could work to his favor in a match because the other guy gets overconfident. And then,
there's like 3 or 4 fights. There's this fight, Moises, El Chucky Flores.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little taller than Brandon. He only had 1 loss, and they're like on the weigh-ins, and they're like looking at each other. And Brandon smiles. He told him something, and Brandon comes and ¿qué te dijo Brandon? Estás bien chulo, güey. Le dijo, estás bien chulo, güey. En el second or third round, boom, noqueado.
Te caíste bien chulo, güey.
O sea, el Luis Pantera Neri, comment, he put, no, hombre, este güey es el novio de Oscar de la Hoya, por eso lo metieron aquí, lo voy a empinar, y quién sabe qué.
Yeah.
El Pantera,
trash talk.
Luis Pantera Neri, because lo miró, dijo, no, hombre, este no es boxeador, y boom. El body shot, le quitamos el WBC, but...
It can work to Brandon's favor because it gives the other boxer more confidence, and it makes him drop this guard, thinking that this kid can't hurt me, and then boom, he hits you hard, boy. Vámonos. So when the money came in, how did that change everything for you guys?
Oh, that changed everything 100%.
I mean, it usually does. I mean, that's been the story of the historical, the history of relationships and of partnerships and of business partnerships and stuff like that. Is always the money comes in, and then it turns into something totally different. It's not always. It's usually with partners. It's not always with family. And with family, it's a big difference. It was your sons, and then they started making a lot more money than than you, I guess, right? I mean, was that
a lot more?
Yeah. So
I used to tell my sons, mijo, take care of the money. They paid you what they paid you in this fight. It took me 10 years at my work, 10 years to make what you got paid.
Yeah.
And pues, I have a house, but the money's gone, and they just, they pay you that amount of money, just boom, deposit it in your bank. And I mean,
that always happens.
That's why I admire Canelo. I gotta give it to the guy. I don't like his fights, but still, that guy is something else. I mean, he's training, he's disciplined, super smart, takes care of his money. I mean, look at this guy. He's a multimillionaire.
Yes.
And he's still making millions. I
mean, that's got gas stations.
That's great.
Horses.
I admire that, honestly.
I mean, the guy is very competitive.
He's disciplined to
and he's controlling his own destiny.
Yes.
I mean, he gets to choose who he wants to fight.
Yeah.
And whoever fights him knows that their name's going to become something.
They're gonna make millions also, whoever fights them. So
sometimes I think that Canelo actually pays them money just to fight him, and they no tienes que ganar, güey. You know what I mean? Nomás pon unos cuantos chingazos. And I tell my wife, a mí se me hace que Canelo hasta le paga a los vatos para que pierdan. I mean, just to keep the roll going. You know what I mean? Because it just doesn't benefit Canelo. It benefits a lot of people that get into the ring with him.
Yeah.
It
sure does. Honestly.
I mean, if Brandon goes in with Canelo, man, that's going to be one of the biggest fights ever. I don't know if they're the same weight class or not, or they can happen.
No, but Canelo's like 5 weight divisions over.
Yeah.
Above. Brandon's fighting at 126. And, I admire Brandon's discipline, because to make 122, a kid who is 5'9", pero se los amarra al cabrón cuando se llega a hacer el peso, se los amarra. Pero, you know, me as a father or manager, trainer, you know, there's ways to make weight, but they tell you, I'll make it. Yeah, you make it, but you're not going to go at 100%. You need to go at 100%. So you got to do it gradually. You got to do it the way you're supposed to do it. That way, when you fight, you're going to be at 100%. You know, you have a lot more chances of beating the guy. But if you try to make weight at the end, you're going to go at 80%.
Yeah, it's going to make you weak.
It's going to make you weak. And if you get a tough opponent like you, he's gonna get you.
You were talking about, you should have had contracts involved and stuff like that. So, like the guy from Indio, California was getting a percentage. Is that the way you worked with your kids? Like they would give you a percentage?
Yeah.
And how was it? It was verbal? I mean, you didn't have any kind of...
It was verbal.
Okay, and everything was cool?
As a trainer, it's you get a percentage. You don't need a contract with the trainer.
Oh, okay.
You don't need a contract. So
but still, I mean, I would imagine if your son goes with another trainer, there'd have to be some sort of, I don't know.
You know what? They
just got to be on paper, bro, because if anything happens legally, you got to have something. The judge doesn't want to hear he said, she said. You know what I mean? They want to see paper and stuff.
I don't remember, because usually the trainer just gets paid or...
See?
I don't know.
That's interesting.
As managing, yes.
Yeah.
As manager, yes.
Yeah.
But
so, and also having discipline in the ring doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have discipline with your finances.
That's the point right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have a lot of discipline. How do you manage your money?
Brandon said when he was here that he owns properties and rentals and stuff like that.
Yeah, he bought some land off the expressway, but you got to put it to work.
Yeah.
You got to put it to work.
Or you can hold on to it till it gets more expensive, you know what I mean? And sell,
but
in 5 years, it might be worth triple what it's worth right now, but it's an investment.
He's trying to buy houses and then build houses, so it's good. And I tell him every time you fight, Brandon, buy yourself a house. Just leave it there, rent it, and then you fight again, get another house.
Yeah. Yep. You buy some land and build a little, you can do all kinds of stuff. But that takes a whole lot of work too, man. I mean, you got to be on top of shit because, any little, se te va todo si no lo cuidas, you don't stay updated with it.
O te roban los que según te están ayudando.
Simón, también, carnal, tienes que tener, that could take you out of focus of what you need somebody handling all that you trust.
Yeah.
So you can focus on the fight. I'm sure Canelo has a lot of people handling his shit.
The people around him are great people that, have guided him and him. I mean, he's got to be like super disciplined in what he does and how the people that are around him, he's got to know that there are people that are going to help him.
Sí.
Not compadres or not drinking buddies. No, nothing like that.
Yeah, man.
He's got to be someone that's going to be tough on you.
That's something you learn as you get older, after you've been screwed over a few times. And even after that, you still end up having faith in people that might not have your best interests involved, but that is something. And that's what happens with a lot of young kids, that they come into this big amount of money and they don't know how to handle it. And I know, like I was telling my wife that at the NBA, if you go from high school to the NBA, like LeBron James and all that, you have to go through this whole class of how to handle being a multi-millionaire. Because you can kill yourself with that shit.
Yeah, so, yeah.
You can kill yourself with that shit. We had Omar here too, and he was like basically, feeling that you had pushed him a lot too hard. And I mean, I don't understand how there can be any type of, I don't know, like any type of animosity if you get pushed to become a world champion. I mean, you know what I mean? It's really weird for me to understand why he would have some sort of, animosity towards you because you pushed him so hard.
I did push him hard, but he played every sport.
Yeah.
I mean, there's parents out there, believe me. Omar would eat whatever he wanted to eat. Omar would have started fighting at 126. He started fighting at 135 because he didn't want to do the discipline to eat. So, okay. He wanted to play basketball. I was front row Joe watching him play basketball.
Supportive.
Baseball. I guided him. I trained him, coached him. Since I have pictures, baby. Man, he was super great. I would live baseball through him. I live boxing through my boys, and even friends of mine tell, man, this kid is something else.
But you know what? The story of like this story that we're talking about, it just doesn't happen. It happens a lot. I mean, like the Michael Jackson, the Jackson family, the father. I mean, you know, Selena's dad. You know, I mean, they're always like they push him too hard, or they push him too hard, and then they become super famous and successful. And it seems that there seems to have be something wrong with the way they were pushed. And I don't understand that. I mean, it's like if you go to the military, they're going to push you to become the best you can ever be. And do you get out and say, no, man, the military, you know, I hated them because they did this to me or they pushed me too hard? No, I would imagine that you'd be appreciative of getting pushed to the limit to where you were or became the biggest in the world, you know? I mean, pero it's interesting, the mindset and dynamic. But then again, Brandon was also talking about how lonely it is to be in boxing because you do have to lose focus of everything else and just focus on you and the fight.
Yeah.
Right. In order, because if you don't, you're going to get beat up in the ring. There's another guy that wants to do it, you know?
Yeah. And so, I guess as a manager, I did the right thing. I got the correct opponents for them. I would get, you know, discuss the purse that we're going to get paid. And I would ask for what my kids were, you know, their value.
mm-hmm.
So we went directly with Al Heyman. So we didn't sign with no local promoter. We went straight with the big boys.
Mm-hmm.
And if we would have signed with someone here, then this guy would have taken part, a percentage, and then the other one, and then, you know.
Yeah.
But I went directly with Al Heyman.
I was shocked when I saw him fight and you weren't in his corner anymore, Omar's. And, you know, I don't know what had happened. He decided, I know he mentioned something about it here when we were interviewing, but that must have really hurt you a lot, no?
It did, but if he thought I was the best for him, I let it, you know, I let him go. I mean, I was always after Omar because he wouldn't do things right. You know, I didn't want it for him to get hurt. And this sport is about, you know, getting hurt, hurting your opponent.
Yeah.
And if Omar would have had more discipline, man, he would be unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, he sparred Edwin Valero. And Valero didn't want to spar no one else, just Omar, because he couldn't handle Omar. Oscar de la Hoya did not want to spar Valero. Eric Morales did not want to spar Valero because Valero would beat him up. And that's what the manager told me. And the way that guy training with Omar, he said, man, this kid's going to be a world champion. Just by that, Omar going 5-6 rounds with Valero, it was like, man, it was...
That first fight you saw of Omar without you in his corner, what was going through your mind when you were watching that fight, man?
I think it was, which one? Was it with Ugas?
I think it was, wasn't it the, you weren't there when he fought the Korean guy, right? Or was it the Asian?
No, I was there. I was there.
Okay, I think it was a fight after that. It was a match that, because you were there with him that fight. I think it was the next one after that, maybe.
It was one in New York on
You obviously saw the fight. I mean, right?
Guerrero.
You were watching it. You were watching it when you were at home or wherever you were.
I guess it was Guerrero in New York,
mm-hmm.
and Brandon fought Fasino from Africa.
And you were with Brandon.
I was with Brandon, and Joel was with Omar. But then when he fought Ugas, I had this guy who doesn't know how to train, who didn't even get sparring for Omar. Omar would do whatever he wanted. Omar was scheduled to fight Pacquiao if he would have beat Ugas, and he didn't beat Ugas. And we were ringside, me and Brandon. And I think there was another fight when he got stopped. My daughter was crying and telling me, like, Dad, tell him to stop the fight. They're going to stop it. So, yeah, that's when he threw up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Ugas was the first loss. And then with that guy in California. But, yeah, it didn't really bother me because I knew Omar, kind of knew Omar wasn't going to make it because he didn't train properly.
Yeah.
So I just, you know what? I think I said, God, just don't let my son get hurt. I did think about it.
When after that fight that he lost, did you all ever think about reconciling and him coming back to your camp and maybe starting something else and moving forward?
He didn't come back with me. He still stayed with Joel, and I was there. I mean, I wasn't gonna. You can't go with a with a fighter and tell him he's got to tell you, I want to train, I want to do this.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
See,
remember the fight with that guy where he threw up? I don't know. He didn't do good in training camp. And my daughter was crying, and Pa, tell him to stop the fight. And I wanted, throw the towel or something, because he was getting beat up.
See,
and that's not Omar.
Yeah. So Omar is not. He's retired. No more boxing.
No more boxing. No.
Yeah. Do you all ever speak or anything like that?
Rarely.
Yeah.
But
he's got his own thing going.
Yeah.
He's an adult. I mean, what can we do, right?
There's nothing I can exactly.
I mean, we just have to be there whenever they do come and ask us for something. That's what happens. I remember, you see your kids and they drive off to the stop sign and they turn right and you say, "There goes my child, man." Hopefully everything goes well for him, and I'll be here in case he needs me. That's all we can do, man. And so Brandon's your main focus right now. This guy is, he's got a lot more ahead of him, and he's very young and very talented and good looking.
He's in his prime right now. That's what I tell the guys from Premier, man. Keep Brandon busy right now because he's in his prime. This is where he can make his big run and become a superstar, hopefully.
Does Brandon have better focus than Omar, or was Omar a lot more focused than him? Or
I think Brandon
has a lot.
Brandon has a little more focus,
and because he's learned from his older brother as well,
probably,
and his moves. And
but the thing is, Brandon Omar, he wanted to compete, but like yes and no, and then after that, I mean, he made his own decisions. He wanted to go pro. I mean, I didn't twisted his arm to go pro.
Yeah, and
then he started making money. So hey, this is great.
Yeah,
buying.
I don't need you anymore, Dad.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And Brandon told me, yo también quiero pelear. And I told him, no, you're too wimpy. But I would use reverse psychology because I wanted him to prove to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. I mean, I remember he was sparring in Mission. There was going to be some pro fights, and they had some amateur sparring outside. And there was this guy, a friend of mine from Laredo. He brought some guys from Laredo, and Brandon dropped them with a body punch. And he's going, yeah. And he was bigger than Brandon. And he said, he's a damn good kid and your son. So I knew I had something also with Brandon.
Yeah. What's next for Brandon? He's got a fight coming up in November, right?
Hopefully, they had told me September.
El 16 de septiembre es cuando pelean todos.
Probably on the Canelo card again. I'm hoping for that.
But there's a guy he wants to fight that just is avoiding him. What's his name?
Oh, Ray Vargas.
¿Por qué, bro?
Porque le tiene miedo.
Well, shit. I mean, they got to make him fight. I mean, come on.
It's a WBC from Mexico, and he's from Mexico.
And what's his excuse? Like, I ain't got the money.
I need more
money.
Every time he's supposed to fight Brandon, he gets hurt.
Yeah.
Es lo que dice el Ray Vargas.
No, man, he's losing stock. He needs to go in there and fight the best. Against Brandon. You know what I mean?
You know what the matchmaker from PBC told me one time?
What?
Mr. Figueroa, you're the first father, manager, trainer that has not refused an opponent for your sons.
Mm-hmm.
He told me that.
Fíjate. Yeah, because you have faith in your son's abilities and capabilities. I mean, I hope that fight happens, but for sure, if it's not in September, because if it's in September, he'd already be in training right now, right?
He's in San Antonio right now.
Órale.
And I told him, let's go to Vegas or let's go to Mexico City for 2 weeks, and then we go to Vegas, pero he's in San Antonio.
Yeah.
But
well, I'll be looking forward to that, man. And Pantera, man, I wish you all the best, and you've done a remarkable job with your kids, man. Even though there's a little,
yeah.
But it happens in all the families.
I love my kids, and it was a bumpy road, all this, but I'm the proudest father out there because
I would imagine
whoever is in this sport, they know what it takes, and I put my boys with the best out there, and they came through.
And your daughter, she's a nutritionist,
yeah.
and
I had my daughter also training when she was young, and she was pretty good.
Yeah.
She was real tall, and she would beat up the other girls like just with the jab and 1-2 Italian. She was real tall.
Wow, man, that's incredible.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming by to the show, man, and I appreciate you saying, una vez cuando nos juntamos otra vez y hablamos,
Yes,
porque hay muchas historias que tienes tú. I mean, I got so many questions I want to ask, because I'm sure there's plenty of stories about the boxing industry that a lot of people don't know,
You don't imagine.
I used to see them ringside when I was ring announcing, man. It was awesome.
When you're out there with the big fights and what goes there, what they say, you see things and the way it's handled, and say, wow, I mean, now I know why. Now I know this. Now
Hay chingo de política en boxing, ¿verdad?
too much, man.
Chingos.
Sometimes it's who you know.
Yeah.
But,
But at the end of the day, it's the best
pero
fighters.
¿sabes qué es el orgullo mío? Que lo comprobamos con hechos. We went out there and we fought the best, and they won world titles.
Yes, dude. I mean, that's for a father to be able to say that about his sons, and for a father to have had a hand in it as well. It's not just anybody can say that anymore. They're few and counted. Pero Pantera, muchas gracias, and I appreciate you coming to the show, man. Te lo agradezco mucho, y aquí tienes 100% de apoyo todo el tiempo, okay?
Thank you. Yes, sir.